Welcome to Uncontained, episode 193. I'm your host, Aaron Static Render, and things have definitely changed since the last time we talked with the whole coronavirus picking up, and just want everybody out there to stay safe and, don't leave the house unless you have to. Wash your hands, which you should be doing anyway. But here's a little something just to take your mind off of Corona for a little bit, and just let the world of cinema into your mind for a bit. Today I have filmmaker and director Antonio C.T. on the show. He was a guest of mine a couple years ago around Halloween time, and we talked about zombie turkeys and stuff like that. Now he has two new films out. One is Résilience, which is a short film, and the other one is a feature, Freeman, which released in Kazakhstan first, but will be distributed here in the U.S. shortly. Antonio shares a lot of behind-the-scenes stories of the making of both Freeman and Résilience. Plus, we talk about what it's like being a foreign filmmaker in the United States and all the hoops that a filmmaker has to jump through in order to continue making movies here in America. So I had a great time catching up with Antonio on this episode, and I think you will enjoy the episode as well. So it's time to plug in those earbuds. This is how Antonio C.T. lives uncontained. How are you doing, Antonio? And welcome back.
I'm doing great. Been working a lot. Has been intense years. I'm just trying to push as many projects as we can, so we can actually stay current and keep doing going bigger and bigger. How's it going for you? I haven't heard you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. Things are going well. I've had, been getting some new guests. I'm talking to some old guests and, catching back up, which is always fun to do. See what people have been working on since the last time I talked to them.
And now you're married now.
I am.
As well.
So yeah, that's one thing that's changed since the last time we talked. Thank you very much. And so, man, you've been busy. You have two movies out right now. One of them's a short. One of them's a feature, Freeman, and then Résilience. Let's dive into the feature first, since that's what I watched first. Just go chronologically like that. Makes sense. So this movie, Freeman, has actually a past guest in it too that you hooked me up with too, Kate Tumanova.
Oh yeah, of course, one of my favorite actors.
Yes, sir. Now I don't want to give away too much about this movie, so I'll let you give the quick rundown of the movie, and then we'll ask questions about that without giving anything away. It's always a tightrope walk to when talking about movies.
We can actually talk a little bit more about this one, since it already started the theatrical distribution, and it's about to actually hit the US. I think is gonna go through Amazon and other streaming devices platforms. They haven't confirmed with me, but pretty much Freeman, it's a story about migration and what is it that for a lot of immigrants means to live the American dream, and the hardships that an immigrant person has to go through in order to actually stay here in a legal way. It also explores a little bit about the sense of the money as the source of happiness, and kind of like just trying to show how there's always good and bad people, but the good would always kind of have a bigger impact in our lives.
Okay, yeah, I definitely saw that. I saw the storyline as it was developing, which was really cool. He was in with a moving company, casing joints and stuff like that. Kind of got roped into that to have protection in the United States, right? And let me know. And if I do say anything that you don't want said in this, let me know and I'll edit it out so I don't give anything away, because I don't want to be that guy who drops spoilers.
No, let's talk about it. let's talk about it. Like it has been in a couple of festivals here in LA as well. So many people have seen it already. It started the theatrical distribution in Kazakhstan, where the money came from originally.
Really?
So even though it's gonna come, I think it is the subject matter is really relevant and really important. So by all means, we can discuss things.
All right. So the characters in the film are Russian immigrants. All right. So what is there a reason why you chose Russian opposed to like what's going on here in the States with Mexican immigrants?
Two things. Funny enough, even though I'm Mexican, none of my films are about anything that involves my country.
Fair enough.
Or like not particular group. Like I like stories that can be international, that can be universal more than international.
Okay.
Second thing, I didn't choose this one because I was attached to this film in a very funny way. I would call first because the one who was supposed to direct the whole film and the cinematographer, they were working on the script. The guy who plays L, the main character, he is the one who wrote it originally in Russian. And then he asked this guy, Eric Jonas, who is my cinematographer, to help him to kind of like translate, not only translate in language, but actually translate this story into the Hollywood script style. And they did a magnificent job. They actually created a really beautiful script, which sadly I can say it didn't turn out in the editing room exactly as you should have because of the script. But that's a different thing. It was out of our hands when the companies in Kazakhstan started like redoing it for the market there, and that's the version that you saw. Like the original version was supposed to be a little bit different. There's some holes with the construction of the relationships with some characters, but still, like the film is there. It is a product, so it is being seen. But the whole script and the whole decision of the story came from Eljas, who is the actor who plays the main character, the cinematographer, and then the cinematographer asked him because they lost one of the people that they have for producing. Eric is the one who said like, "Yeah, you should call Antonio because we have worked together in the past." Also, Eljas and me, and like he would be a great producer for this one because he's such an international setup. And I came, read the script. I actually did a little bit of workshop with them to help them with the script to push it into the best spot, and turned out like really, really, really beautiful. So that certain point, like around a month before we start shooting, the casting process was still going, and then just he was supposed to be directing the film, decided that he hasn't found at that point an actor that he actually wants for the main role. So because he's an actor in Kazakhstan and actually people know him and he has been in TV series and all, he actually has a career over there. He said like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it. And then me as a producer, you're like, wait, like that is like you being in front of the camera the whole time. You're not as experienced as being a director to be able to spray yourself into. And then you're like, yeah, but I was gonna ask you can direct it with me.
Okay.
Which turned out like, okay, no, that means that I'm gonna be directing this whole thing because you're always in front of the freaking camera. It is not like, yeah, we're gonna be sharing things. So it was we're friends, like about Eljas, Eric, and me. So we're friends. We try to find some kind of dynamic so it works. New producers comes in, start getting chaotic. That's one of the fun parts of filmmaking. Like there's a lot of people trying to get creative, and sometimes kind of like there's some clashing.
Oh yeah, you butt heads from time to time.
Yeah, yeah, and not only that, but because this production is so international that actually has like so many different idiosyncrasies from like different people. We have people from Ukraine, from Russia, from of course like the United States, from Mexico, from Venezuela, from Argentina, from Norway, from Australia. So it is like so different the way of thinking of everyone that you have to also have that in your state of mind. Like I'm dealing with different ways of thinking. So at the end of the day, mostly at the beginning, it was a little bit of kind of like a like give and take with many people like trying to figure out. I brought a lot of most of my team actually to this film, and that I want to work well, but still it was a hustle like every day, and at the end of the day end up being something that well, it's already there, it's been marketed, so it is something in our back, so we can talk about it now.
All right. Yeah, so the story, it's like actually I'm going to touch on, I like that there's so many different people of different nationalities in it. You know, like had a like laundry list or grocery list of like different nationalities that are involved in it. And it's like that many people, it kind of represents what, you know, the immigration to America too. If it was another country that everybody was immigrating to, I don't know if it'd quite be, you know, the same. It's interesting to see another immigrant than like what we hear about in the news all the time, because we're always hearing, as I mentioned, about people coming up from Mexico, Trump trying to build a wall. But to see the story,
the wall was already there.
Yeah, there is a wall there, but I don't know. It's Trump. I can't explain anything he does. I just know it's gonna be huge. Okay, so, but it was cool to see see the immigration from a different point of view. You know, you see other people immigrating to the U.S. and the struggles that they have to go through as well.
Yeah, we wanted to tell a story, like, and visually speaking, this is because of my visuals, because of the way I attack films. It is the reason why, at the end of the day, I was asked to direct the film because I have more like a gritty point of view, not trying to find like the stylized LA and looking for like the beautiful landscapes or like the beautiful like downtown shot. We're looking for things that were real, for places that were real for what we were doing. The fact that we were in LA was just, I don't know, casual. It was just like a reality. It was not a, we were gonna go and shoot somewhere else because the budget was real limited. Actually, when I came in, when I just jumped into the chair of director, we lost a lot of money, like many thousands of dollars from the budget that suddenly just ran away, and happens.
Like, why did you lose the money when you took over?
Oh, sometimes investors back up.
Oh, okay. I got you. Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Like, what's it called? The money comes from a different country, different ways of thinking, and like the money was never enough, and it's just about getting creative, and trying to get the best. A lot of things that then we start pulling out as a favor. Luckily, it was a large group that we were working with, and then like we could get away with certain things. Like thinking about it in retrospective, like how much the film cost and how much we could get away with. It was quite a big challenge, and that's one of the reasons why we were stress was and so so big on set and outside of the set, and there was like a lot of struggles because as usual money is an issue.
Yeah, having to figure out how to make that budget work has to be tough sometimes, if not all the time. Especially as an independent like filmmaker and no Hollywood budget. So, like, how did you decide which locations you wanted to use? Like, what was it you were looking for? You mentioned grittiness, but is there something in particular for this film that you were looking for?
It was in this case. That's what. Okay, so first of all, the reason what I chose, even though I directed pretty much like 90% of the film, I chose to just get a title as co-director is because a lot of the things were chosen or started to be chosen when I was in the producer chair.
Okay.
So, for example, like the cast was not my selection. I gave some recommendations, but because I was doing some other stuff, the cast was not my selection. So that's one of the most important things that the director actually has to go through. And same goes with the locations. By the time I jump into the director chair and then things start kind of like getting a little messy, it was a collaborative spirit. So it was like, okay, who can get this, and let's go and explore. Some of these things, for example, there's something that you don't get to see a lot. We got a beautiful Hollywood mansion, literally in Beverly Hills, who was owned by Miss Colombia or something like this.
Okay.
And it was just abandoned. There was like a lot of boxes and a lot of cassette tape. It was freaky. Like literally, when we were there was no light, so we could just shoot there during daylight. And there was a time when we were running out of light when I was the last one, just exploring the whole thing. So we knew like nothing was left behind. Everything was clean and all. And I just felt like someone chasing me during those big rooms. And sometimes we just got like things like that for luck. Like literally, we didn't pay nothing for that one. Like we cut. Well, actually, no. In Kazakhstan, they cut a lot of that mansion. You get to see a little bit. That is the house where they moving from, and then they transport all the boxes to the other house
Okay.
of the ambassador, the old guy. So some of these they just came to us like sometimes 2 or 3 days before, and it was just about like how to work it. When it was more like exteriors, when it was more urban, then we actually had time to actually go and explore, pick out our spots to actually get more like the look, more like the colors. Our cinematographer is very he's very fixated into everything that has to be with lighting, but also to get particular styles. So we had to go and check on, for example, for the night scenes where we would have only like tungsten light bulbs outside, because he wanted those colors. And in LA, a lot of places they have LEDs to use white balance. So it is a mix of collaboration between all the departments and trying to get the best out of each location. I was saying some of them for me they didn't work as well for what the Tori was telling, but sometimes you just go and play with it and try to make the best out of it.
Fair enough. I did pick up that gritty vibe while watching the film, but it is still like polished too, so it looks like a professional movie too, for people listening who will be like maybe questioning what the gritty vibe is, but it is like an intentional like tone that you could tell was there to make it to help tell the story.
Yes, even though, for example, there's a particular part that I don't like a lot, and it looks like really too nice, too beautiful, and then it was like, okay, let's just use it for a very specific scene that it is meant to be like this. Let's not use it for like the sad scenes. And sometimes we just had to rebalance everything. But yeah, visually wise, actually, I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. So, now you've taken this film to some festivals, correct?
Yes. In this case, not me. This case, we finish it, pack it. I start helping. I edit the first half. The other half was taken to Kazakhstan. I deliver like my part because we were trying to kind of like accelerate the process. And then when it reached there, they just reassemble the whole thing, which I don't particularly agree 100%. But the story is still there. The message is still there. Uh, it could have been a little bit longer. It could have been a little bit stronger if we would have stick to what the script was. But at the end of the day, we have a feature film that is in theaters, so that's always a good thing to have.
Hell yeah! What was taken out that you wished was in there?
There's there's a reconstruction of the timeline of certain scenes, which I don't think they work as hard as they could have worked as before, because I was editing, so I already see how to work. Second, there were a couple of characters that we cut out that they didn't make any sense. Sometimes they're really beautiful on the script because the script is more like a novel, and then you find purpose for it. But when you see them on the screen, it is just waste of time. But there's actually a couple of characters, which is the love interest and the who turns out to be his new best friend, that there's a couple of scenes that would have given a little bit more of why is it that these relationships were constructed, and why is it that they end up being there. As it is right now, sometimes it feels that things just happen and they're a little bit too convenient. They're not convenient. Actually, the work that Eric Jonas, the cinematographer and also co-writer, did when it comes to actually creating these beautiful settings for relationships to grow in a logical way, they're like perfect on the script. Now, I understand that sometimes they want to rush things and try to make it a little bit faster, but the film could have afforded an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes without a problem.
I could see that. Yeah, I was like, it's because it's just like an hour and like what 10 minutes right now. Is that what it is?
It's kind of like almost an hour and 20, but yeah.
Okay, I was like before the credits roll anyway, so I could handle it being a little longer, like an hour and a half, something like that. But I think that's a good time for a movie, unless it's like Braveheart or something like that.
Well, you know what? The first cut, like the rough cut of this one, was 3 hours and a half long.
3.5 hours long?
Yeah, that was the rough cut. And then when I sit down,
wow.
because there was like the rough cut was terrible. Like so someone who was working with us like put it together so we can see, and then we were just laughing as we were watching because it's like, Jesus Christ, like this is like a full season. But then like of course that was never meant to be like the final cut, but it was just funny because we said like, okay, yeah, we have enough. And then I sit down and I'm watching the film for the first time in a screening here in LA, and I'm like, wait, like we have a 3.5 hour film. How come it turned out to be 78 minutes? I don't know.
Well, you know.
Magic.
Yeah, just cutting down on things, cutting out parts they don't think is necessary or to add to the story, I can see. But I've always found it's best to have too much footage, whether it's video or audio, and have the comfort or the luxury of being able to whittle it down, even if it is half the length that it is. It's always better to have too much than too little and have to do a reshoot.
Well, yeah, tell that to all the editors.
Tell that to editors. They sounds like they got a little happy. Yeah. Sounds like they got a little happy just cutting crap out. But so
no, but you know what? That actually shows the point what I was telling about this international setting, because our point of view here in LA is like, we were missing things, and in Europe they love it.
Oh yeah,
like the first festival, like when I heard like the first festival that we got in, and the reviews that we were getting, I was like, oh wow, okay. And as an artist, as someone that is creating, as a creator, you're always judging really harshly on new things, and I'm like massive critic of my work, and I must confess that I started getting these reviews, and then we would share it, mostly Eric and I, because we're here in LA, and we're kind of like this power. I wouldn't say power couple, even though we're not a couple, but anyway, dynamic duo.
There you go. That works. The dynamic
duo.
No,
but we always share, and then you're like, okay, well. Yeah, it is. I guess it is what it is, and our style is very European, so I guess it makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Is there a possibility of doing a European release and an American re-release, like kind of a director's cut with what you want in it?
Could, but I think the best thing. I remember when I was studying my master's, actually here in LA, years ago.
Yeah.
One time, a professor, very brilliant professor, he said that I asked him, like, when do you think a film is ready? And then he said, like, the film is never ready. The film is ready when you put it out, and then when you do that, move on into the next project, and that's it. And that's a really smart thing. Like, once a film is done and it's locked, never go back. Like, those re-releases and stuff, they're just for making money.
Yeah, fair enough. I can definitely see that, digitally remastered and all that stuff. You got to own this DVD again. You thought you saw it best the first time.
And then we go from VHS.
Yeah, VHS.
Yeah, no, like we went through what? Betacam to VHS from laser, then DVD, and now Blu-ray, and then we're gonna do holocrons in like 10 years.
Yeah, then to have like holograms in your living room. Yeah, that's coming too someday. I don't know. I haven't made it up yet, but I'm not an inventor either, so somebody will do it. But all right, man. So what's been the response to this film in film festivals?
Good. It has won, if I'm correct, 8 film festivals. No, it has won. I think it has won 3 awards, something like that. It has been in 8 film festivals, and 2 of them actually it won as a work in progress. It was still one. It was still a production, and the other one, it was the film being cut, and they won as well. I think the biggest one was the Madrid International Film Festival, like the biggest of them all that we won, and it has been doing good. Like I was here in LA for one of them, but I don't remember.
You get them mixed up in your head. That's understandable.
I have 2 films in the film circuit, so sometimes they get I get confused.
Well, you said the other one won the AT&T, something with AT&T.
Yeah, Freeman was in the Hollywood Silver Screen
All right.
Prize, and it was good. And also, no, actually, no, it was the IFS Ellen Film Festival, which is at the LA Live in the Regal.
Okay. And I remember reading in your email that for L. Freeman, you are looking at bringing it to Mexico as well as Kazakhstan and the United States.
Kazakhstan is already there. Like, Kazakhstan is where we started. Like, the production company that which actually bought the film is in Kazakhstan. So they already had like a big premiere with a band playing on like literally live on the theater, and Q&A and all. I couldn't go because I was in France at that time, but that one went already for theatrical release there. They're trying to figure out some other Soviet countries. I'm trying to bring it to Mexico so it can get theatrical release as well. I'm not actually having talks to try to make that happening. And we have a production, a distribution company. The LA LLC already signed the contract with them, and I think the distribution should start around June or August.
Nice. So you'll be able to get this on all your streaming devices or streaming platforms, correct? Or at least a couple of them, and be able to check it out there. And I will get, if you get a link to that, let me know and I'll share it.
Yes.
Like in my show notes, or if it's after that, I'll just share it on social media. I'll keep people posted on it.
The first one that might come is actually Amazon Prime in the next weeks. So actually, it might take a couple of months, but if it arrives in time, actually I send it to you because I know that they were dealing with Amazon Prime. So that would be the first streaming platform that it goes up.
All right, cool. And I will share that link with people to the Amazon Prime when it comes out. Now, let's talk about the other film that you have in the festival circuit, and that is Résilience.
This is the film that I have done that I have enjoyed the most, watching it over and over. Like, it happens to me that whenever I'm done and then I have to rewatch it because I'm editing, so I have to rewatch it like 2,000 times. This is kind of like the exception of the rule for many reasons. This is the first time that actually I'm able to actually sit down and enjoy everything from beginning to start without actually feeling like, oh my god, all over again. Quite the opposite. I get excited and I get excited with the audience. The story behind it, there's so many things that I don't know which one to start with. Perhaps would be my actress, Melissa Selikovic. She's half French, half Bosnian
Okay.
actress who came to America, same thing. And same deal as all of us. And then one day she approached me. Um, and then she started talking like she wanted to have to shoot this film if I wanted to shoot with her. And I told her, like, you know what, show me a good script and I'll consider it, because I'm working all the time, so just spending my time, putting my time and money to actually shoot something takes a good script for me to actually want to go in it. And then she comes with this beautiful script about anxiety and depression, and it is something that is very personal to her, because things that she has suffered, this comes from her own ghost, and not only her ghost but also of people that is close to her. And then she had friends of hers committing suicide very recent to actually when she started writing the script. She had suffered. She was a person that actually has hurt from this, and it is a disease, it is a sickness, and she wanted to have like this beautiful kind of like a story that would end up with a high note, with a positive note,
Okay.
about these issues. I took it, and then I told her, like, okay, give me a couple of weeks. I need to figure out, because I'm liking the script, but let me see what is it that I can do. I come back and I told her, okay, let's do it. I have this idea. We start talking about the visuals. We share a lot of the same concepts, and it was fantastic.
So was it your idea to planning out things like the outfits that she was wearing to go along with the mood and like where she's at? Because I noticed it started out with her wearing a white dress. Then when depression hits, she switches to a black dress in the desert, and then it goes to reflect her mood throughout the whole thing. So whose idea was that? Was that hers or was that yours?
This is the beautiful part of Resilience. We didn't have money. like we just talked like that. Like she didn't have money, I didn't have money to put in. And then when she talked to me, like she knew that I have like a team, that I have a cinematographer, I have a composer. But at this point, like everybody, like all my people, all my friends, they're working. So I'm expecting to have money to pay them, not just asking favors like I was doing like 6 years ago, right? So I'm like, okay, here's the deal. We try to fundraise and try to get as much money so we can bring whomever, and then I don't know what are we which equipment that we can get, and we might actually have to rush it and then shoot it like really fast and try to make the best out of it. Second idea, we shoot it only you and I, and that's it. I got a new phone back then. It's an iPhone 10 that I actually purposely got it so I can start shooting 4K with it. And I have some tools. I have like reflectors. I have a gimbal so I can stabilize. I have some sound equipment to put it directly into the phone. So I was like, if we do this, we can just go and do it on our own rhythm. I don't have to miss work, so I don't have to, to stop actually earning money, and we will figure out. So that was the decision, and that was the first of a few projects that I started doing, where I would just go by myself without zero crew, with no one on my back, just doing the role of 20 people and pulling out like really beautiful stories with really good actresses, because all of them are actually women. So all of them are also kind of like women empowering stories, if we want to consider as such. And this started kind of like bringing me back to basics, to the idea of like, you know what, there's so much resources that are being wasted on set. There are people just sitting down waiting for the time, getting things at the crafties, and not really achieving as much as you can actually have. And for example, this film perhaps is one of the ones that took me the longest to actually finish it, but it is also has been really rewarding personally and film festival wise. Like we took 11 days to go and shoot it. Sometimes we would have to walk literally 40 miles, 20 and then 20 back at 125 degrees just to get like the perfect shot in the desert, or having her being underwater for hours and hours, or being cold at the beach, or being hiking and getting some rash because she stepped on some poison ivy. We had like, well, that was the list of her problems. She got a concussion while we were doing the underwater scenes.
How'd she get a concussion doing that?
Well, she just killed herself, kind of like when she dived. She dived in a place where it was kind of shallow, and then literally ended up. It was kind of like the what is it? The bodyguard, moment when Kevin Costner like carries her and then they're coming out. It was the same thing, but with her like all passed out and me carrying her to the car, putting her like all literally just like drenched me as well, because we're just coming out of the water, and then just driving her straight to the hospital because I know she's passing out. I can see the eyes going blank, trying to make her stay awake. And then actually kudos to her, because I can tell you like 80% of the film she actually shot it while having concussion syndrome.
Oh, wow. That just reminds me of like a guest I just had on. I just had Rob Van Dam from the WWE on talking about his movie Headstrong. And it was supposed to be about him doing stand-up comedy, but the night before he was going out on a stand-up tour, he got a concussion and was dealing with the double vision and everything like that. So it turned into a documentary on the tour and him dealing with that, and then getting diagnosed and checked for CTE and everything like that. So and he's had somewhat like 400 concussions in his life with professional wrestling. So and the fact that he didn't have CTE was amazing. But for anybody who says professional wrestling's fake, 400 concussions says it's not.
No, I know. I have two friends that actually do professional wrestling.
Really?
They're women. They're women. They're in the show. The one of the producers of Glow. It's called Women of Wrestling.
Okay.
And they're doing good. They have like the characters, and like I know as a fact because I've been there. I see them training, and I know how hard they hit. Like they come back home and then they start, like Snapchatting or just sending images of their bruises.
Did you say they're in the show Glow on Netflix?
No, that's the same producer. No, the show, the show Glow on Netflix. It was produced by what's it called, David McLean, and then he has been producing for I think 3 or 4 seasons this other show which is called Women in Wrestling.
Okay, all right, I'll have to check that out as well.
Women of Wrestling. It's called WOW.
Oh, WOW. Okay, Women of Wrestling. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so are you gonna have a wrestling movie coming out soon?
No, but there's an action film that it's in the works that I cannot talk about it with that we're planning to shoot in Norway.
All right, damn non-disclosure agreements.
I know.
If I will ask this, if it is, and you don't have to answer it if you can't, but is it with a person who was a guest on my show? If it's in Norway,
you can actually say it. Yeah, that's with Ragnhild.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to check and see. I didn't want to just throw the name out there or whatever. But all right, cool. I'm glad you guys are working together again. And I look forward to seeing that as well. So back to the movie Resilience. I could tell there were a lot of decisions made, like visually, to reflect the mood, whether it's lighting, the environment that you're in, or as I mentioned earlier, the dresses or the outfits that she's wearing. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into setting the mood in this film. Now, like you mentioned that shooting it by yourself one-on-one with her made you go back to the basics. Was that something that you wanted to focus on? Was like symbolism of things in the film, or what were some of the basics that you went back to?
No, that was practicality of the fact of not having no one helping you, because we didn't have we didn't have the resources to actually be able to pay people. But also when we start shooting, and then I realized, like, you know what, I can I have done this before. Like you have talked to Ragnhild Bjorge, which is
yes,
we have worked together for like the past 8 years now, and there's another one of our stunt partners, and also one of our best friends. Her name is Selena O'Sullivan. Both of them wrestlers, and the fact is that, for example, we start doing like these projects, action comedy things that is still a project on the go, but we have never been able to sit down seriously and put it out there. But it's a show that is called Angry Girls with a U, and it is a nice concept. And the whole thing that we created is just like these two girls who are playing different characters, and for some reason they start beating each other up in every episode, and that's pretty much like the premise of it. But it's really funny. Both of them are all of us three are stunts. This is how we met. So when we started doing that, we were shooting always on phones, and pretty much it was just both of them two and me. So when I was confronted with a project of Resilience, and then I was like, I have these two choices. It was for me just like the smart choice. Like, you know what, I have done this before. There's a picture of me when I'm literally holding the phone, because I'm shooting, I'm directing, I'm the cinematographer, I'm the camera operator, but also I have like a big bag of an actual full recording system, like professional. Both of them, they're mic'd with the lavaliers, so I need to be doing sound mix, and at the same time I have the script because I have a walkie-talkie and I'm first AD, and I'm reading the lines to them, so they know where they are, because they're not even close. They just have like walkie-talkies around, and I'm doing literally like 6-7 rolls at the same time, like just going like this, like what's it called, like cramping my fingers. It is possible. It is not recommendable, but if you want to push things outside when you don't have money, when you don't have the resources, you just do what you need to do. And Resilience demanded that. So when I was confronted with a decision, and Melissa agreed, I was like, okay, let's go for it. The first 2 days went out perfectly. No, actually, no. correction. The first day didn't went perfectly. We went all the way up to the Wisdom Tree in Hollywood, which is a beautiful setup that you can see in the film, where you can see both the San Fernando Valley and you can see LA.
Okay.
And we're there. This is like around midnight. This is in August. And when finally we get there, this is usually takes like a half an hour hike, really strong going up. And everybody, when they come up, they're just dying and they're just like breathing really heavily and they're like shaking. And then they just stay there for like at least half an hour to recover.
Okay.
I did that hike carrying 30 pounds of equipment because she was not going to carry anything because she couldn't sweat. So I did that with the extra 30 pounds. And then when we finally get there, a beautiful fog fell on us. And then there was nothing to see. Like I couldn't see past 4 feet away. So I have just one shot out of that day, which is a beautiful shot where you can see you can see her face like looking away, and then she's all blue, and then you can see the moon in the background. But because we had the fog, usually when you try to take a picture with your phone, it's impossible because it's just a little dot. But actually, that shot was possible to have actually the moon because you cannot see the fog, and the only thing that you can see is the light reflecting of the moon spreading really, really big. So this is the best shot that I have ever had with like an actual face and the moon there, just because of a random weather condition. And it was funny because while we were there, we start hearing voices, so we stay quiet. But we have these lights; they're purple, and then we have these lights up set up like really purple. It's just like lighting up like the whole Wisdom Tree area, and you can hear the voices in fear, like, "Man, what is that? Like, do you think they're they're aliens?" And they're like, "Yes." And there was a pause, like just silence for like 30 seconds. They're like, "Just relax as we're shooting. Just come in."
It's like you had a UFO. You had a false UFO sighting because of you guys.
Well, you have the fog. You have a weird purple light, and just silence. So it was funny.
Yes, that is comedy. Too bad you didn't get them on film just for like a B-reel, just for like the deleted scenes or something like that. But
Actually, I think I have them.
Oh, really? Right on.
Yeah.
If you release this somehow, you'll have to include those in a way, or just have them on the website so people can check out some stuff, or just send them to me. One of the two.
I should do, because I actually shot a lot of B-roll, even everything at the ER.
Oh, really? Yeah, you
Yeah.
can make a B-roll that's longer than the A-roll. But
You know what? I'm just gonna create like Résilience the documentary and then send it and start winning a whole shot ton sheet of awards again, but for best documentary this time.
There you go. Make the film and a making of at the same time.
Yeah.
A couple more questions about Resilience here for you before we move on. Now, I noticed that you used a narration style to this, like of her telling the story as everything's going on. Was there a artistic purpose behind the narration style opposed to having her talking on screen?
Yes, that's the way the script was presented. Like I literally got kind of like what I got from her was these beautiful texts, which feel more like thoughts.
Okay.
And then I help her to put it into like the good script format. But then when we have it there, I just start confronting this thing with visuals. This is what took me like a couple of weeks to kind of trying to figure out. And then when I showed it to her, it was like, you know what, let's just do it like this. Like let's just have the internal thoughts of someone going through these obscure times in a very surrealistic way. Because as you know, like sometimes like she just space travel. Sometimes she space travels inside of like deep spaces in her mind that maybe doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is what people from anxiety and depression suffer. Like sometimes they're out of their mind, they're out of their bodies, and they're just internally suffering and lost up there.
Okay, all right. I was wondering if it was something like that, or if it was like once you started talking about shooting it on the iPhone, if it was like, okay, it was easier to get the good audio with having her do it in a sound booth afterwards.
Yeah. Actually, the funny thing is that at the end of the day, even though I actually recorded good audio so we can get everything, the whole film, there's not one single part of sound that actually is real. Like I literally recreated everything. So every sound that you hear, I just made it. It took
Really?
me it took me 2 months to actually be able to do the whole film, then do the sound mix, all the color correction, and then well, of course, first the Follies, but it was like, again, me sitting down just doing everything on my own.
Wow, man. Wow. And then that's the other movie you have in the film festival circuit right now. So how many festivals have you taken that to?
This one, it has been in the first year 13 festivals. We got 20 nominations out of it, and so far we have won 12 awards, one honorable mention, and 3 recognitions from the state of California.
Wow, that's impressive. Have you had like accolades, like that many accolades on a single movie before, or is this like
it is a constant grow. Like the first thing that I sent to a festival, it just went to Cannes, and it was just premiere there, so win nothing. The second one got into, I think, 4 festivals. The next one did 8. So no, the first one did 8, something like that. And now this one is doing no. First one did just 1. Then the second one did 8. The next one did 12 festivals, and then this one, I'm thinking it should end up being with like somewhere between 24 to 30, because he just started the second year.
Oh, wow. All right, man. Very cool. So, I have a second part to the show, which is geared to help people who are wanting to become entertainers, get into the entertainment industry, get their foot inside the door. So I like to have it specialized to my guests area. So what is your advice to somebody who is looking to either get started in film or take that next step?
Number one, which is getting tougher because of time and all, but try to shadow and get attached to someone that actually it doesn't have to be someone that is up there and is an A-lister. It's just people that actually are doing things all the time, because mostly when someone is barely starting, you need to learn a lot about the language and the rhythm, and it helps to actually be with people that are a little bit more experienced. um, the one that it would be attached to it would be the fact that start doing, like, there's no better way to actually learn properly that from fucking up. So when
So
you
true,
screw up a
though.
lot, yeah, when you screw up, for example, as I remember, like the reason what I can do, for example, this kind of films, is because I can do pretty much everything on my own. Maybe there's things that I cannot do as well as if I had someone more professional, for example, like doing color correction or doing sound, but I have enough knowledge to actually get away with it. Of
Okay.
course, if I had the money, I would prefer to have someone doing the sound mix or the color correction. Also, because I really don't like doing those things, and it's really annoying. But I respect the professionals in each area. That's why I'm not acting as well. I could actually do it as well. But when you start screwing up and then trying like all of these different things, you learn more about not only just one part of the profession, but everything that involves to them. So the second thing would be try to do your own things. Actually start doing projects. These days is easier than ever to literally just grab the phone and start shooting with that. You don't need nothing else. Every phone can actually be a film camera. It's just about creativity and then thinking about visuals and knowing a little bit of storytelling. So to actually be able to put something, and of course having a script that actually is worth shooting. So it's something that at least is worthy having there.
Okay. All right. Very cool, man. So, yeah, I always learn the most from when I mess up. You don't always, in the future, you don't always remember when you did something okay. You do remember when you mess up. You do remember the first time you bomb and fail at something, and you remember when you do awesome at something. But if you just do okay at something or don't fail, like just get by, it's like I won't remember that at all. So yes, take those failures and learn from them. Reminds me of a Michael Jordan quote. Like it's like I failed, and that is why I failed so many times, and that's why I succeed. I kind of paraphrased and butchered it, but yeah, that's around what he said.
Yeah, like, and you're right. For example, like I can remember like my first like screw up related to film industry was learning how to edit. And back then I used to edit in these big machines, like these big computers I used to have in 2002. And I started learning Avid, which right now is like super mainstream. Back then in the college where I was studying, not even the professors knew how to work with Avid. Like they were taught really fast with a couple of crash courses, and that was it. So I sat down and like, hey, I want to learn because I knew the computers were there with any software. Like I want to use it. Like we don't have right now space to teach you, so here it is. Go and play. And then like fine, and that's how I learned. Like I spent like a full semester just learning about it. And what I learned about editing is like save every 2 seconds. This is what's my first teaching. So what I'm doing, this is just a desktop, and then I'm just editing. I've been editing for like 3 hours. Very uncomfortable chairs, and then I just stretch John, and when I John, I kick out the plug, delete.
Oh man, that's rough. Yeah, I've learned my lesson on that many times about saving repetitively, like almost like you're saving with OCD. But yeah, I actually used Avid a little bit in college as well. Avid Express Pro back in the day.
Yeah.
I had the special keyboard and everything. But it's amazing how long it takes to edit like a 5-minute video. You know, especially when you're not good at it yet. But still, like 5 minutes of film was like 40 hours of work or something like that. It's like damn.
You know what is the best part? When you're super proud of everything you did and you're just barely learning, and then you come and show it, I don't know, to your family or friends, and you're like, hey, look what I did, and then they just watch it in 30 seconds, and you're like, okay, so what was that? Like that was like literally my past 2 weeks, but okay.
Fine. Yeah, exactly. Or you know what I actually do like, even though it's kind of painful to do personally, it's like going back and either watching or listening to what you did way in the past. That go back and watch that first video you did. You look at it, you'd be like, oh wow, that was I see why my parents weren't impressed. But compared to what you do now and how far you've grown, it's like, okay, I'm and it's a good thing you think like your original work is kind of crap, you know.
It shows that you know the reality of where you are standing now.
Yeah, it helps you put it in perspective. Right. And if you're happy with your first work that you put out, you should really work on growing.
Right now, for example, I'm gonna start putting up a few of these short films that a lot of people ask me, like, hey, where can we watch them? And like, you know what, they were in festivals for so long that I never really put them anywhere. So actually, I'm about to put them in Amazon Prime as well, so they can have an output finally. And I was going to the list of them to see which ones were worthy for for people to see and for them to be out there. And it was just kind of like a triple, like, Jesus Christ, what was I thinking? But it's fun.
All right, man. So that's some good advice, though, man. The whole failing thing and learning from that. So, what are you currently doing right now to promote yourself and your films?
I'm terrible at promoting myself, to be honest. So what I start right now, like film festivals are like the things where I'm getting my bigger output to actually push things outside. The things that are done usually someone else can like take them and start like taking away. For example, with Resilience, some festivals gave us PR. AT&T Film Awards immediately took me to several outputs, several podcasts, like live interviews, and different press that just start going out there. And film festivals are really convenient. The one thing I do to actually try to get the most out of these short projects, because of course the feature film is different. You get a distribution company and they take care of that, and then you just watch it out. Unless you're actually trying to distribute yourself, which that's kind of tricky. But two things: one, with the short films, it is all about as a filmmaker picking up your fight, but like knowing how to pick up your fight. so you know which film festivals are like the ones that are going to give you like the most value with audience, and which ones are kind of like going to spread you out, or which film markets are going to be there, so you can try to push things out. Luckily for me, I do have and collaborate with a company, which is the one that I work the most, which they are they work with marketing and PR. So I'm all the time in red carpets and VIP events, like most of the time working. But then I get to network a lot with famous people, with producers, actors, directors, whatnot. So kind of like my way to push me like outside is just by doing one-on-one with people and then sharing what I'm doing. Getting hopefully soon, getting people interested enough to actually start getting those big budgets to actually go into the next level. Like right now, I'm like right there behind the glass, just looking at the toys inside. Like I'm so fucking close, I can smell it, but still there is that barrier. So I'm just waiting for. I know it's just that little barrier, and should happen soon. Like this project in Norway, for example, we're pushing because this involves the government of Norway to actually kind of like jump in with us. Last year I was there. We were having meetings with the head of the department of the Norwegian Film Commission and all the producers in different regions to try to make this happen. That's what we're working on. And the thing that actually puts me in the position, for example, to say like, hey, like I'm the one who's going to be directing, and Ragnhild saying like, yeah, I'm the lead actress, is because of the things that we have been winning. Like, getting the credibility, even though it's kind of like not pushing like massive social media. At the end of the day, what we're doing, like, directors are not meant to have like 1 million followers. Like, no one gives a shit about they give a shit
unless you're like Steven Spielberg or Tarantino or something like that, then they get the 1 million.
They get to do whatever they want because they bring the big bucks to the studios, but we don't consider directors to be social media influencers.
Yeah,
Tarantino maybe, because he's like odd and bizarre and that's it. But pretty much directors are reserved to themselves. Same thing, like like above the line figures like cinematographers. You don't hear someone like Chivo Lubeski having like tweeting every day.
Do you think that is a, like, I don't know, an important characteristic of a director, to be kind of like introverted in a way, like kind of like at least internally process things, opposed to being like an actor where it's more outgoing?
I wouldn't call it introverted. That would be kind of like perhaps oversimplifying it. I would call it analytical.
Analytical, okay, that's a better word.
Yeah, because no, but the thing, the way, for example, I see the difference is that there's directors that I know they're extremely successful and introverted. Example, George Lucas, and there's people that are massively extroverted up the way to that actually they become actors. For example, like Quentin Tarantino, and not only that, you can see the way they approach media. You can see one of the things that Tarantino has that actually make him being him is the way that he was always like so flamboyant in his way of being with the press. Sometimes even a douchebag. And if you can hear, for example, like George Lucas speaking up to these days, he's very quiet, very reserved. He chooses his words like really politely, and it is kind of like two different way of being. But the analytical side that we have, it is just that eye of kind of like being exploring everything, even while we were talking to people, seeing their reactions, and it's kind of like being a poker player. Like sometimes it seems that you're kind of like a tarot reader, and then you're telling people things of their lives that they're like, oh, how do you know? It's like, because I'm used to see, like, I need to see many things at the same time to try to recreate reality. So the best way for me to actually be able to be a director is to pay attention in real life. So sometimes I don't think it is not that we're quiet, it is that we're thinking, we're introspecting everything that we're seeing.
Okay, that's a better way to put it than introverted. Introverted was just the first thing that came to mind, but where you went with it was what I was actually trying to say. That's the analytical side right there. So now, moving on here, this is a kind of a two-part question. First, it starts out with a hardship, then it moves on to a highlight. So, what would be a hardship that you care to share that maybe you overcame and made something positive out of?
Oh, okay. My biggest hardship up to these days is actually be able to connect with people of power.
Okay.
I'm a stubborn person, but I'm also extremely logical. But if there's one thing that I do not tolerate, it is, for example, like people being disrespectful, hypocrites, and a lot of people in positions of power tend to be both. Not everyone, but
Okay.
it happens often. In LA, that is like even more. So wanting to approach someone to kind of like beg for a budget with a state of mind that kind of like does not compute with my state of mind, it is a little bit of a tough challenge, because then it just immediately puts me in a judging mode or defensive mode. And then of course, like why would anyone would want to go and talk to someone that inherently you don't like? And maybe that's a little bit over judgmental, because you get to know people, and some people are nice. You discover that most of the people actually were douchebags as you explore, and LA is plagued with those kind of people. And I like getting along with humans that are kind of like people that I want to keep in my life. Like most of my team, they're friends or best friends because of that. Because these people that I have been growing up with, that I'm gonna keep growing with, and that their success makes me immensely happy. So a lot of times, like I get jobs, side jobs of things that, hey, like you want to be cinematographer for this show, with people who actually were big time producers later on. So like that is like, you know what, like I could take it because I can use the money, but I'd rather my actual cinematographer to go and take it, because that's what he does, and the better he gets, the better I grow as well, because he's the guy that I'm gonna keep bringing, and everybody kind of like grows together.
Nice. That's a good way to look at it too. Like, it's not just me, bring me up. It's when like one of you get attention or get the experience that brings the whole crew up in a way. And being happy for people's successes is something that's not always out there, even though it should be. Like when I see my past guests on my show going and doing big things, I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. Go get it, And when I saw you posting about all these film festivals you were in, I was like, hell yeah, I gotta talk to him again and help spread whatever little bit of word I can, But
that we love that.
And I kind of like, I don't know, in a way it's like one of us gets shine, we all get shine. So moving on, I like to try to live that way anyway.
Later on, we're gonna be like one of those interviews, I don't know, 10 years from now, like Jimmy Kimmel interviewing Matt Damon, and then we're gonna be playing pranks on each other.
Yes, exactly. You'll have us hiking up to I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm gonna move on here. So now what would you say would be a highlight that you want to share with the Uncontained audience?
The highlights are different, because I don't think I don't like, even though like there's things that I have won and all, like I don't think I still have like those highlights that I'm really proud of. I have highlights of people that I have met, people that I have worked with. Um, Specifically speaking, for example, with projects, right now I can tell you that Resilience is a highlight in my career, like really important.
Okay.
Not because of what we have achieved in awards, but because we have achieved as in reaching with the heart of the people. And it happened to us like very recently. I was with Melissa in a film festival um, like a month ago, and when we went out the screening, it took us an hour to be able to like move away from the theater to actually get to the car, because people just keep approaching us, people who wasn't Q&A. We had a really Q&A, but people were coming to tell us why is it that the film was so impactful, because of how they knew people who had suffered this, how they suffer from this, and how this actually film kind of like helps them explore like a different perspective in their lives, in their minds. And most of these people actually would come and they speak French, because the movie is in French, and the color that the French um, came out with Melissa, because she's French. She put like so much life and so much of her experience and so much of the suffering that she has, that it resonated like massively with people in like so many places, that they would come and actually speaking French to them. I know a little bit, so I could understand, but it was just very beautiful, because I have never had a film that would resonate internally as hard as this one. And it was funny, because it was kind of like being playing to be a little bit famous. We would go and have lunch, and we would go to a restaurant close to the film festival, and there would be people, not the same day, but literally 2 days later, that saw the film and recognized us, and then they would come and keep talking to us. And it was really, really fun, but also really feeling, because of what you're doing has an impact, and it has a positive impact on the state of mind and the well-being and the health of someone else. And that's a new.
Nice. Yeah, it's, if it has to be a great feeling to know when you reach somebody, especially with a story that the story of resilience is like real. It's a real story that many people have lived and stuff like that, and know that you're making that connection and getting the feedback from it has to be an awesome feeling.
It does.
And go ahead.
No, I would say like we literally love it and enjoy it so much, and I got like so many because the film is not out there yet, so people keep asking through all the film festivals that we have been going, or getting emails like, hey, where can I get the film, because I want to show it to someone. And regrettably, I don't have nothing specifically. When I have seen, like, when someone has approached me, we have sent like private links for them to watch it, like the ones that you use, and then we just take them off. But what I want to do, one of the things I want to do, is approach an org here in Los Angeles, or in the country, that actually deals with mental issues, and try to place it with them on their portal, or something that actually works, so they can actually use it, and for this to have a positive impact. Like, this is not something that we're gonna go and make it like millions, but I rather and I would rather have it something that actually would help people.
Yeah. Do you vision it more helping people with depression, or helping the people who are like have people with depression in their lives?
I think both. The people who have depression sees it, and I have seen it, and it's a very interesting kind of like case study for me, because I'm a director, so I I see and I pay attention, and it is fun for me. Not fun in a sadistic way, but it is fun for me to learn. So I have seen this with people that actually suffer from like heavy anxiety and depression, and it is a little bit still like telling someone that suffers from this, like, no, just feel good, and then like, well, if I could, I would. But when it goes to the end, and then like hearing the journey, and then actually hearing that this is kind of like something that was written and starred by someone who has gone through that path, and that has that kind of way of thinking and positive point of view, then that is what becomes inspiring. It is the journey behind the person who wrote it that actually helps for them to understand, and that's when the light comes up. But on the other side of the coin, it is the people who have never experienced this, or maybe has never been close to, and then it has happened. And I have been close to people who they claim that they had, or something like that. I was never close enough, until, for example, like, I met Melissa, and then I was I don't want to say help her, but I was there. I was there for her when she needed someone, and it was tough for me at the beginning. It was really difficult, because I didn't understood at that time. I was, it was not in my mind, the ability to comprehend how this was. And not only knowing her but going through the journey of making the film actually helped me understand, and help me understand and figure out like what is it that is really the sickness or when it's just sadness, and how to sometimes just be able to approach, talk, try to be cheerful when just to be sitting there and or be near. And I think that's the other side of the coin, like actually helping people to try to understand how is it to be on that position, because it is not just something that they make up, it is actually a real condition, and it does attack a lot of people.
Yes, yes. That's cool, man, because it does show that light from the, like, at least from somebody who doesn't necessarily battle depression, but has like seen known people who have, and just kind of seeing the whole cycle that the main character of the film went through, and like what the feelings that she had, like not being able to breathe, everything like heavy, and like everything's dark, and lost like joy and happiness and stuff like that. And then going through the cycle and coming up out of the water and to the light, and then slowly letting joy back in. It's a cool cycle to watch and check out. So I'm looking forward to when I can share a link with people for that show, to let them see it. Now I have two more questions for you, and that, like, talking about this film actually leads perfectly into this next question. When you are making a film or making one of these two films, what is it that you want people to take away and remember about your movies?
Okay, so the last ones, I like. Okay, first of all, I like meaning, I like depth, I
Okay.
like message, and that is that's a constant of my work since I started doing this in 2002, 2001. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a lecturer, and then I like to think of ethics. I like to think of values. I like to think of like the possibility of like the common good as a society, of kind of like growing and evolving. And one thing that I have always think since I was very young is that I can see values kind of like disappearing and then going away, and we exchange them for different things, for different beliefs of things that we value now, mostly new generations. So that is one of the things. So for example, like right now, the things that I've been working, they always have like really strong constant themes. So for example, this one is anxiety and depression. I shot last year. I'm about to release it, a new film. I shot it in Norway,
Okay.
actually, with Ragnhild. It's a film that is called Snøhule, which means snow cave, and it's a film about empathy. And for example, the other takeaway, the thing that I want for people to actually experience, it is the cinematography, because what I'm trying to do with these new projects is showing how, I don't want to say easy, but how things can be done in a
Yeah.
professional way without actually needing all the big stuff from Hollywood. Of course, the more you have, the more you can actually afford to have things. But what I'm trying to do is, when I'm saying going back to basics, is actually going back to basics on industry, of actually not needing as much, not wasting resources, and actually still having something that looks visually compelling. And then when I'm done with this one with Snowhood, I'll send it to you. And Norway is beautiful, and I went there when it was snowy. I was there in the mountains, and then there's just shots that are just
Yeah, I bet.
breathtaking. Uh, it was just me with the three actresses, and that's it. Freezing our asses off at minus 20 Celsius, which I don't know is gonna be what, like maybe I don't know, minus 4
No,
Fahrenheit.
well, maybe I heard a cheat to figure out how to, like, make the equation for Celsius to Fahrenheit as far as in positive temperatures. I don't know if it works in the bottom one, but it's like 32 plus the actual temperature, like, doubled in Celsius. So like if it's 20 degrees Celsius, that's 40 degrees plus 32. So uh 72 degrees Fahrenheit roughly. So I don't think it'd be negative 72
Okay.
Fahrenheit.
Actually, no, because as it's going down, it doesn't extrapolate the same. But actually, I was right. We were at minus 20 Celsius, which is minus
Okay,
4
all
Fahrenheit
right. And
exactly.
did you have wind
So
chill on top of that?
that was the first time I see it. Sometimes, well, we were one night, yes, and it was terrible because the part of the story is that the two of the actresses being trapped in a snowstorm, and then we having the snowstorm with them wearing being not be really well covered
Yeah.
because it's part of the story. So they were freezing their ass off, and then they get to be buried under the
Oh
snow.
yeah,
It was fun.
I did that as a kid. I wouldn't want to be buried under the snow now. Was this your first time? Was this your first time with
That's
snow?
Yeah, in my life. Like I was 37 at the time, and that was the first time that I ever see snow because I'm from Mexico, so the families in Mexico, they're really close to each other, so they want to be close in Christmas and the holidays. In Mexico, it doesn't snow, so I saw some snow in like a high mountain one time, but it was not the same. Like I have never seen
Yeah.
actually snow or having like actual snow. Make like nice snowballs. I make my first snowball, and funny enough, like these girls, I was with the actresses, and then they knew exactly what I was going to, so they started running, and then they could no, because like Ragnhild goes, and then she realizes like, oh wait, he has never been in a snowball fight, so she goes grabs some from a car, and then just smacking it, and then I get so pissed, and you're like, wait a minute, that was a snowball, cool, and then I start making one. But I'm not gonna attack Rankle because I know she's gonna hit me harder. So I go with the weak ones, and they start running. So they start running. This is my best moment. I'm super proud and ashamed. So they're running. Two very tiny, skinny Taiwanese girls, and they're like around 30 feet away. And then I throw like a perfect, beautiful curve, like worthy of an
Okay.
NFL quarterback. And I was aiming to hit in the back, but then one of them, for some reason, decides to just step back and look at us, and I nailed her
Oh
right on the
man.
face.
Luckily it wasn't like a frozen snowball, because like they can like get hard and turn to ice. Like I'm from the Midwest. I
Really?
like growing up I had snow all the time, so it's like there's the nice wet packing snow where you can like throw a nice snowball. If you pack it too tight, it's like throwing an ice ball at somebody's face. So luckily you didn't do that, but
It was packed well enough, but it's still a splash. She had a red eye for like literally
okay, so
2 days. I was feeling really, but I was proud internally.
you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that was a damn good throw. Uh
30 feet throw straight on
yeah,
the
man,
face.
that's impressive. I'll give you that. So I bet you felt like a kid all over again there the first time having a snowball fight.
I thought I just won the Super Bowl with the last pass. He was like, yes, give it a trophy.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, so that's awesome. I actually have one more question for you. But before we get to that question, where can people find
Yes.
you on the World Wide Web and find some of your work that's out? So what's your corner of the internet, and where can people check out your films?
Um, this is embarrassing. Okay, so what they can find online is they go to my name, like Antonio Chavez Trejo. It's very easy. My last name is because I have the last name of a dictator, Hugo Chavez, and then Danny Trejo. It's very easy. So if people Google me Antonio Chavez Trejo, then links of videos start appearing. What they're gonna find is like the all this stuff, all the short films, and trailers for everything else that is about to go on. Sorry, that is about to
Okay.
go on Amazon. So the reality is that right now, most of the things that are actually mine, we're watching, they're pretty much scattered and then hidden. And I'm gonna start actually pulling them out, so actually they go to the right places. The feature film, it's in a stage where it's just getting distribution, so it's gonna take a while and stuff. So yeah, that's what I was saying. Like my way of kind of like selling myself sucks. You're like, hey, we're gonna see your stuff. It's like, you cannot see it. I made it just for film festivals and winning awards.
And now I keep it to myself and watch it in my room at night and laugh because nobody else gets to enjoy it. All right, sorry, I got a little carried away with that one.
But yes, that's exactly what I do.
You got to do evil laughs in front of the mirror every once in a while. You know, it's good for the soul.
Now, I will put those on Amazon Prime so they can start going here, mostly because we're foreigners and we need to have things that are requirements for certain things so we can keep being here. So if things are just only on YouTube, they play against us. And unluckily, I still don't have a green card. I just have an artist visa. So that is one of the things that prevents me from actually pushing a lot of things outside. Yeah, like pretty much it is the immigration status, talking about our Freeman. So because I don't have a green card yet, it depending on where our projects go to, it is how much of a relevance they have. If my things are just on YouTube or anything that is just as easy as Vimeo or YouTube, then they're not as worthy as if something gets distribution, for example, in Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Hulu. So that's why a lot of the things, for example, that I have been doing in the ones that have actually been winning awards every year. Like right now, this is my 5th year nonstop winning awards. So everything that I have been winning in these past 5 years are things that actually have helped me with my artist visa. So it is a little bit tougher, for example, for us people like the foreigners, unless you have like a really solid fan base. For example, if I would be an influencer, so that's one of the reasons why my things are not yet out there. So that's why right now in the next couple of months, most of them are gonna start going to this streaming device, at least one.
Okay.
So it is considered a little bit better.
All right, man. That's an interesting insight too. I didn't even think about that. So, like, when you win awards and stuff like that, like, how does the artist visa work? Obviously, I did learn that you have to, like, you can't go wait tables as well. You have to like make your living doing art. I remember that from one of my guests that I was talking to.
Oh yeah.
So you have to do it through film, but how do they like measure your worthiness as an artist, I guess? Like, what are some of the metrics, or how do you present that to people so they know you're working?
They're very specific, and I can show you my two visa cases right now. I'm actually assembling the one for the hopefully green card, but that one is kind of like the same but on steroids. But pretty much the one for the visa artist, first of all, the visa is called O1B for people with extraordinary abilities. So it is not just being an artist. It is that you're a consume artist.
Okay.
This is what they're looking. So, for example, should you have like a lot of awards, like you're gonna win a Grammy and Oscar, perhaps you're eligible more for like a green card. But for artists, for visas, what they want is to have people who have had success in different realms. So, for example, like done television, in case of actors, done commercials, national commercials or international commercials, film series, and all. In my case, for example, because I like and my workload and the way to actually make money is being able to do a lot of different things like editing, producing, directing, doing stunts, writing, some PR marketing. So then I have to actually present my case through USCIS. So they explore everything I do, and I need to be approved on each of them. So that means like my lawyers need to go and actually get letters from the unions, from Producers Guild and Directors Guild and Writers Guild, so they can check the case and you're like, okay, yeah, this guy has done professionally what he says he's doing, and then once having their approval, then the USCIS is gonna go and check our cases, and they're gonna go and check pretty much like the criteria, the things that are like needed. It is the success, mostly if it's possible, either monetary or in audience. So you can prove that it was a large audience actually, seeing your things. Awards, press, which is vital.
Yeah.
And how many have been talking about your things, and the type of work that you have, the type of work that you have set up for the next 3 years, which is that's the length of the expiration of the visa. which is ridiculous because they ask you for you to have already like the deals of what you're gonna be working for the next 3 years. They're like, I don't think you understand how timing works. Like, I get 15 things in the next 2 months. I have no idea what I'm gonna be doing in 2 years from now. Like, you're freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you have a ballpark, and then you have like certain things that are set up there, so that's fine. But I'm lucky because, for example, I have that kind of work that actually I can oversee like past a certain time. But there's a lot of people that actually are great artists, but they don't have the possibility or the opportunity to actually get those things in advance. And the last thing, it is actually be cool and then have lots and lots of pictures with famous people and red carpets.
Fair enough, man. So you don't necessarily like you have to focus on promoting yourself to the government pretty much, like instead of like promoting like promoting to fans and like viewers is important too, but like you're like, hey, I'm doing this, hey, check me out here, here's a picture with The Rock or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not a fan of actually not even like like taking pictures by myself. Sometimes I'm a photographer, I'm a cinematographer as well, so I like the beauty of things or having a model. But I have to take pictures all the time. I've got to an event and he's like, hey, we'll take a picture. And it's like sometimes I really get a picture. Sometimes it's difficult. For example, I just was in a in a red carpet, and then suddenly I turn around and Rufus C. Riley, John C. Riley,
Okay.
walks around with a super cool hat, and then I'm like, oh, cool hat, man. And then like you get kind of like a little bit of a shock because you were not expecting to see like someone like him, and then you're like, damn it, that was a perfect picture opportunity. And then the funny thing that we have in common, like all artists that are foreign, is that we're kind of like in that set of mind that it's always turned on for the okay, this is for visa. Like you got invited to a film festival, an event, and you're like, oh, I'm so fucking tired, like I don't want to go out. And they're like, oh wait, no, those would be like really good for visa. And then you just go to get this stuff.
Interesting. It's something that like I never really thought about before, because I haven't had to. So
Yeah.
so it's a whole interesting perspective, and probably like I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it, but man, well, I'm glad you did this interview for your visa.
Well, I'm not doing this one for the visa.
I'm just joking with you, man. I'm joking with you. It's all good.
But you know what? I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it in the visa still.
You should.
I'm pretty sure that, like the last one was there.
It was all right. Cool, man. I'm glad I could help you out. I'm glad I can help you out.
You can be part of my way of staying here.
I have done so much for you, Antonio.
Well, when I do something bad, CIA is gonna be knocking at your door. You're like, so you were.
I knew that guy was trouble from the start.
Talking about turkey zombies.
Yeah, turkey zombies, man. That's how'd that go? Did that get underway?
It is something that I haven't pushed it. I haven't thrown it away, but it is a tough project because of many things, but mostly including money. So I'm on that. I'm still on top of it.
All right.
Hopefully, it's for this year.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Hopefully. That'd be a really cool Halloween thing. Turkey zombies, gobble gobble, I want your brains. But all right, I got one more question for you, man. I'm sorry. I got totally sidetracked. I'm like kind of borderline ADD-ish. I'm on that spectrum somewhere. And
I'm right there with you. That's what we get along.
but
you're like me. We sidebar, but we always wrap them up.
Exactly. And you got to bring it back. You just got to know when to bring it back to the conversation.
Yeah, because you have a mathematical way of thinking. It's an equation. You're closing all the parentheticals.
Exactly. And when you're in that sidebar too, it's always a challenge. Like as far as you get away, see if you can naturally bring the conversation back to where you're trying to go. Sometimes it's possible. Sometimes you just got to be like, screw it. I'm not doing transitional material right now. I just, let's go to the next question.
Fantastic. I love it.
So, Antonio, it was great talking to you, man. Great taking those little side journeys in the conversation. And I really did enjoy watching those two films that you sent me. And I have that one final question for you, the title question of the show. Antonio C.T., how do you live uncontained?
I'm living uncontained. No matter what happens or going against me, against us in the project, because I know I need to stay focused for myself, because this is what I do, this is what I am, and there's nothing else that I would be doing. So it's a little bit of stubbornness, but it is a driven stubbornness. It is something as breathing, and it is something that is needed. That is the essence of an artist. At the same time, it is something that is so, because so many people have actually support me, help me, and there's so much encouragement, that it is not that I only owe it to myself, but I owe it to people that I care and I love, and people who have kind of like grow with me, or make me grow. And it is because of people like, for example, like my mother, that I'm still here. Without we're not an island, and without like everyone around us, we would never be anyone. So I would never stop until I achieve my dreams, because it is needed. And if not, I would just kill myself. I just kill myself.
That took a dark turn. All right, man. Well, thank you for sharing that, and stay after it. I don't want you to do the offing yourself thing. And if you get down, watch Resilience again, and you'll be good. Okay.
I'm a narcissist. Narcissists don't kill themselves. We love each other too much.
Narcissists love themselves too much.
Yeah, but that's a group, so that's a group support. No, no, but yeah, I would never do that.
All right, good to hear. All right, I have one final thing for you to do, and that is sign off the show. Will you do me the honor of signing off the show tonight, Antonio?
I would love it. I am Antonio Chavez Trejo. I live bullshit free zone, and I live Uncontained.
And that does it for another episode of Uncontained. Thank you for listening, and thank you to my guest, Antonio C.T., for coming back on the show and talking with us about two very exciting projects that he has going on, Resilience and Freeman. Definitely, I will keep you posted on where you can find those when they're out on Amazon Prime or Netflix or wherever they'll be coming out on. So I'll keep you guys posted as soon as I find anything out on the future of those films, so you can check them out. Now, I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the support. If you could continue the support by just clicking that subscribe button in the podcast player of your choice, and be automatically notified when new episodes come out and into your ears magically. All you gotta do is click that one button, and it'll be all set for you. And also, if you have any shopping to do while you're stranded home alone due to COVID-19 or Corona, as most people call it, click that Amazon banner at the top of the page and help support Uncontained. And I'll keep on putting out podcasts for you. Thank you once again for listening, and until next time, live uncontained.